There's a wildfire over there. This is what it looked like yesterday afternoon and evening. A couple weeks ago, we had this one over here. A couple weeks earlier, we had this one on the other side of us. Now we have this one. As we're getting into the peak of wildfire season, I'm doing some last-minute preparations here to make sure the place is secure if we do get a wildfire. Stick around because some of the things I'll be doing are things a lot of people don't think to do, which causes them to lose everything. There's all kinds of information out there about how to protect your structures, but something I commonly see after a fire is all the destroyed vehicles, tractors, equipment. I recently saw a video, a guy had a fire go through his place. There was his tractor, tires all burned off, the thing was toast. Boats are another example. A lot of times these things get the short end of the stick when people are trying to protect their homes, but sometimes these things catch on fire. That's what ends up lighting the home on fire if it's parked nearby. We'll take care of all that here. I am assuming you already have defensible space around your place. If you don't have that, there's not much anybody can do for you. You're pretty much hosed. But that's okay, we can get you set up with that over the winter for next fire season. I have other videos about that. Just hope you don't have a fire this season because just plan on losing everything. With a lot of natural disasters, we can't stop them. We can't stop the ground from shaking in an earthquake. We can't stop the wind from blowing in a tornado or a hurricane. But in a wildfire, we can stop that. All we have to do is remove the fuel. I'm not that worried about big flames coming through here. There's just not enough fuel to support big flames. There could be low ground fire in spots. What I am concerned about is hot embers coming in, raining down on my things, lighting them on fire. Actually, I should have said land on or around my things. A few weeks ago, I cleaned up all the leaves around this trailer, all the way down to bare mineral soil, so if direct fire or an ember lands in these leaves, they won't be likely to catch the trailer on fire. Build a fuel break all the way around it. Giving special attention to the tires to make sure there's nothing flammable around them. Falling embers will be less likely to light a vehicle on fire if they don't have a bunch of highly flammable junk in or on them. And it's just nice to have a vehicle that doesn't have a bunch of flammable junk in or on them. Clean out all the grooves, crannies, places where flammable material can accumulate, especially on vehicles like this that either don't get used or don't get used often. All it takes is a hot ember landing in a groove or cranny with flammable debris in it to set your vehicle on fire. And it's just nice to have a clean vehicle. Just because your heavy equipment is made of iron doesn't make it fireproof. They have a lot of oil in them and fuel, which a fire can get to through hydraulic and fuel hoses and other potentially flammable components. But those components are much less likely to catch fire if you clean out the debris and junk around them. The operator seat could also be vulnerable if an ember landed on it. Consider covering it up to protect it from embers if fire is imminent. Make sure you get all that flammable material away from the tires. Take extra care to clean debris away from hydraulic hoses and other vulnerable parts. Wood piles or debris piles right next to your structure or anything you don't want to burn are just asking for trouble. I like to move those away from anything that I don't want to have burned. Plus, it helps keep down the mice around your stuff. I've had this flat spot up here, free of vegetation or anything flammable for parking things on, but it's starting to grow up with weeds and grass, so I decided now is a good time to regrade it since I want to do that anyway. It's definitely not a Jeremy Reber job, but I am no Jeremy Reber, so that works out well. Now I can park these on mineral soil with nothing around them that has the ability to support fire. The wood deck on the flatbed could be a problem if embers land on it, but that's the nature of the situation. Unless I cover it with something, which I don't have, that's just the way it is. If that was to catch fire, I don't know that it would burn intense enough to scorch this, but I don't know that it would is not the same as it wouldn't. So maybe I should move this over a little bit. Those are the kind of things to think about. If you have a boat, parking it somewhere like this may not be good enough. They say a boat is a hole in the water you throw money into. It's also a hole that can collect embers, start the interior on fire, burn your boat down. If your boat's parked next to your house, that could burn your house down. Consider something fire resistant you can cover your boat with, or clean out all the flammable things inside, or use my strategy, which is just to know people who have a boat. Then you don't have to worry about it. If hot embers land on the painted metal of a vehicle, I think it's unlikely it's going to start a fire. Not impossible, but not super likely, I think. But if your windows are open, they can come in through the window, light your interior on fire, burn your vehicle down. To prevent that, make sure your windows are up. With all the things we're doing here, we're not making things fireproof. All we're doing is we're greatly increasing the chances something might survive a wildfire. If we have one of those freak events like we had in 2020, where we had 60-mile-an-hour winds pushing wildfire, there might not be anything we can do. Everything in its path could be toast. The majority of wildfires that are going to happen here are not going to have 60-mile-an-hour winds. That's what we're protecting ourselves from. A cleared off spot like this won't do you much good unless you have plenty of defensible space all the way around it, where you've cleared out all the fuel that could support intense fire. If I'm not using a vehicle regularly, I'm going to unhook the battery when I'm not using it. For one, it helps keep the battery from draining while it's sitting, and if a mouse or something chews through a wire, something causes a short, it's less likely to start a fire. During wildfire season, one of the last things we want is for something to start a fire. If I'm not using the dump trailer, might as well unhook the battery. Stash the cable somewhere where it's not going to eventually bend its way back and touch the terminal. A lot of times heavy equipment comes with a battery disconnect. At the end of the day or whenever you're done using it, get in the habit of shutting that off. I brought my water wagon down here close to my structure so it'll be handy if I need it. A lot of people in rural areas are dependent on a well for water, connected to the grid for the power to run the pump. When a fire happens, a lot of times the power will go out or it'll get shut off. So a lot of people aren't going to have water. That's where something like this comes in very handy. 525 gallons of water, high pressure pump to a 300-foot hose with a fire nozzle. I like to start it up every once in a while just to make sure everything is working. Every once in a while this pump engine can be a little hard to start, so I keep some go-go juice here handy just in case. My main reason for having this is not so much to protect myself or my things, it's to protect everything else from myself and my things. My biggest concern is not my things burning up. My biggest concern is accidentally sparking a wildfire, having it get away and become the next big wildfire. Replacing my few things here would be an annoying chunk of thousands of dollars, but that doesn't compare to the millions of dollars it often costs to fight a wildfire, plus all the damage it would do and possibly killing people in the process. So I mainly have this to put out any fires I might start. My number one plan if we have a wildfire here is to not be here. It's to go away, to skedaddle, to scram, to be somewhere else, to be... What's your plan? I hope you have a plan. I'll let you run the water wagon. How about that? Oh, you want to run the dozer, you want me to run the water wagon. Just make sure it has fuel in it. On a pleasant day like today, it can be easy to think, I have all the tools and the equipment to fight a fire. I can just stay here, I'll be fine. But it's going to be different when the fire is actually happening. On an afternoon when it's 98, 105 degrees, wind blowing a fire in, embers falling everywhere, getting choked out with smoke, it's going to be different than it is right now. I don't want to be here. But if a fire starts down there, blocks my exit and I can't leave, that's another story. At least then I know I have the equipment to hopefully defend myself. That's when this will become a defense tool. There is nothing here worth anybody risking their life over. Even firefighters, I don't expect them to be here defending my stuff. Their resources are better spent doing something else. If I put my stuff out in the middle of fire country, which is most of the western United States, it's my responsibility to put those things here in a way where they're not likely to burn. Wildfires in the western United States are normal. Fires have been burning here since long before we were here. If we are going to put our stuff in a place where wildfires are normal, it's up to us to make those things safe from wildfire. If we don't do that, it would be like building a house without a roof, then complaining because we're getting wet when it's raining. We don't try to stop the rain, instead we just build a roof. I think we need to start looking at fire a little bit like that. Instead of trying to stop the fire, which we can do to some degree, but there's always going to be fire. Fires are normal. We need to build our homes, our structures, anything we put out in the western United States in a way to where it's not going to burn, or it's not going to be likely to burn. Just like the rain is normal and it's going to keep happening, fire is normal and it's going to keep happening. The next day, there's no smoke plume. Looks like they got lucky over there, got that fire under control. I wasn't worried about that one because it was far enough away. What I am concerned about is it's only the middle of August. We have a lot of fire season left. We have dry lightning in the forecast. This has been a really bad fire year. Like I've been saying, we hardly had a winter this year. We didn't get a lot of rain. Snowpack was the lowest ever recorded. It's been a record fire year for both Oregon and Washington, at least since we've been keeping accurate records. Before that, we've likely had bigger years in the past, and we'll probably have even bigger years in the future. It is up to us to make sure we prepare ourselves and our things for fire.